All right, let's dive into some Islamic spiritual practices.
Yeah.
Specifically, we're going to be looking at a concept called Riyadhah.
Hmm.
And it's about mastering desires, but we're not talking about like just white knuckling temptation.
Right.
Think of it more like getting your soul in shape, like a
Yeah.
workout routine, but for your spirit.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Know the 4 stages of Riyadhah to destroy lust.
All right.
Now, the title might sound a bit intense,
Yeah.
but I think the content is way more interesting than that title might lead you to believe.
I think so too. Yeah. And basically what these texts tell us is that Riyadhah is all about intentionally avoiding actions that kind of negatively affect the soul.
So, almost like a spiritual detox.
Exactly.
So, is it about more than just resisting temptation?
It is.
What else is there?
It's about actively cultivating good qualities and then also shedding bad ones.
Okay.
So you can think about it like weeding a garden so that all the good plants can flourish.
I like that analogy.
It's not just about not doing bad things, but consciously replacing them with good things.
Okay, so we're talking about building spiritual muscles here
Yes.
through repeated effort and discipline.
Exactly.
I'm guessing that's where this idea of stages comes in.
Yes.
Like somebody who's just starting their fitness journey versus somebody who's been training for years.
Exactly. You're right.
Okay.
One of the sources that the article pulls from, Madarij Salikin by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, it actually outlines 3 different levels of spiritual athletes,
Okay. Level.
as interpreted by scholar Kathur Suhari.
All right, break it down for me.
Okay.
What does a beginner on the spiritual path look like?
So think about someone who's brand new to the gym.
Okay.
They're very focused on outward actions,
Yeah, okay.
making sure they're doing the form correctly and that they're using the equipment properly.
In the same way, a beginner in Riyadhah is primarily concerned with aligning their outward actions with Islamic law.
So they're focused on following the rules,
Exactly.
making sure they're doing the right things.
Exactly. And their motivation at this stage is often driven by a desire for reward.
Okay, so they're looking for those gains.
Yes, both in this life and the hereafter.
They're doing good deeds with the expectation of a positive outcome.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. It's kind of like working out to get compliments on their physique.
Yes.
What about somebody who's been practicing Riyadhah for a while?
Okay.
What does that intermediate level look like?
So for someone who's progressing on their spiritual journey, their focus starts to shift inward.
Okay.
They're less concerned with that outward validation
Okay.
and more interested in deepening their connection with Allah.
So they're working out for the feeling of inner strength, not just how it makes them look.
Precisely.
Okay.
And their actions become less about seeking a reward and more about expressing their love and devotion to Allah.
There's a greater sense of sincerity in their practice.
That sounds like a pretty significant shift.
Yeah.
What about that final level,
Okay.
the master level?
Yeah.
What distinguishes them?
The master embodies complete devotion to Allah.
Okay.
Think of a seasoned athlete who's so in tune with their body that all of their movements just become effortless.
Wow.
It's very fluid for them.
Okay.
For the master, actions flow naturally from a place of deep love and connection with the divine.
Okay.
There is no longer a sense of striving or expectation of reward.
Okay.
It's just an expression of their being.
Wow, that sounds almost like a state of complete surrender and acceptance.
You could say that,
Yeah.
but it's important to remember that these levels are not meant to be a judgment of anyone's spiritual standing.
Right. It's not about saying that one level is better than another.
Exactly. We're all at different points on our spiritual journeys.
Yeah.
These levels are simply a framework for understanding the different stages of growth and the different shifts in perspective that can occur along the way.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
So if we think of Riyadhah like a training program, where do we even start?
That's a great question.
Does the article give us any concrete steps?
It does. It dives into a 4-part plan outlined by Imam al-Ghazali in his book Ihya Ulumuddin.
Okay.
And this framework is also discussed on the NU online website,
Okay.
which provides commentary on Islamic teachings.
So what is the core of Imam al-Ghazali's plan?
Well, it revolves around the concept of moderation.
Moderation. Interesting.
It's about being mindful of excesses in all areas of life.
Okay.
Al-Ghazali specifically mentions being moderate in food and drink, sleep, and even non-essential talk.
So finding a balance in our daily habits and activities.
Exactly. And the 4th pillar, which might surprise you, is about enduring other people's hurtful actions.
Enduring hurtful actions.
Yes.
That sounds challenging, to say the least.
It's a challenging practice.
So is the idea to just let people walk all over you?
It's not about being passive or allowing yourself to be mistreated.
Okay.
It's more about cultivating this inner strength
Hmm.
and responding to difficult situations with wisdom and grace.
So it's about taking the high road even when it's difficult.
Exactly. It's about
Yeah.
choosing to respond in a way that aligns with your spiritual goals, even when faced with negativity.
Okay, that makes sense. But I can imagine it takes a lot of self-control and discipline
Yes, it definitely does.
to put that into practice.
It's not easy.
Does the article offer any examples?
It does. It draws a specific example from Al-Ghazali's work about controlling appetite.
Okay.
He outlines a detailed process for gradually reducing food intake,
Okay.
training the body and mind to be content with less.
So it's not just about cutting back on food, but learning to be satisfied with what you have.
Exactly. It's about breaking free from that constant desire for more.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Our culture is so focused on consumption and acquisition,
Yes.
always wanting the next big thing. This idea of Riyadhah offers a very different perspective,
Yeah.
a way to kind of step back from that constant chase.
Yes, it's almost countercultural in a way.
You're right. You're right. And that brings us to another really crucial point that the article emphasizes.
Right.
Riyadhah is not simply about deprivation or restriction. It's
Yeah.
about something much deeper and more transformative.
Yes.
Okay, so if it's not just about restricting ourselves, what else is involved?
Well, according to Pingantar Ilmu Tasawwuf by Bedruddin, another source referenced in the article,
Okay.
the true success of Riyadhah lies in cultivating certain inner qualities.
So it's not just about what you do outwardly, but also about cultivating the right inner state.
You got it.
Okay.
And the article highlights 3 core elements that are essential to this inner transformation.
Okay.
They are Takali, Tahali, and Tajali.
All right. Those are some new words for me.
Yeah.
Let's unpack those a bit.
Cool.
What does takali entail?
Kakali is about actively rejecting negative behaviors and replacing them with positive ones.
So it's not just passively avoiding bad things.
No, it's about consciously choosing a better path.
Okay.
You can think of it like intentionally pulling weeds from your garden and then planting beautiful flowers in their place.
So it's more proactive.
It is.
It's not just about abstaining, but actively cultivating good habits.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about making a conscious effort to align your actions with your spiritual goals.
Okay. And then we have tahali.
Yeah.
What's the focus of that?
Tahali is all about actively nurturing your connection with the divine.
Oh, okay.
It involved engaging in practices like prayer, remembrance of God, reflecting on his qualities.
Okay.
It's about feeding your soul with positive spiritual nourishment.
So while tahali is about clearing out that negativity, tahali is about filling that space with positive spiritual practices.
You could say that. It's about creating the conditions for spiritual growth and fostering a deeper connection with Allah.
Okay. And then through these practices, you're working towards tajali.
Yes.
What is that exactly?
Tajali is considered the ultimate goal of Riyadhah.
Okay.
It's a state where the presence of Allah is felt so clearly and profoundly in one's life that it becomes a transformative experience.
So it's like reaching a heightened state of spiritual awareness and connection.
You could describe it that way, yes. It's a state of deep spiritual enlightenment and communion with the divine.
Wow, that's a pretty profound concept.
Yes, it is.
It seems like Riyadhah is about so much more than just following rules or restricting yourself.
It is.
It's a holistic path towards spiritual growth and self-transformation.
Exactly. It's about cultivating both inner and outer discipline to purify the soul
Okay.
and deepen your connection with Allah.
I have to admit, this is all very intriguing.
Yes.
I'm already starting to see how these principles could be applied to my own life,
Me too.
even in small ways.
I think that's one of the most powerful things about Riyadhah.
Yeah.
It's a practice that can be adapted and integrated into everyday life,
Yeah.
regardless of your background or spiritual beliefs.
Yeah.
It's about making conscious choices that align with your values
Right.
and striving for something greater than yourself.
This has definitely given me a lot to think about.
Me too.
But before we get too carried away with our own reflections, there's still so much more to explore about Riyadhah.
There is. So from what we've talked about so far about Riyadhah,
Yeah?
what's resonating with you?
Honestly, that idea of enduring other people's hurtful actions as a form of spiritual practice,
Yeah.
that's really sticking with me.
Yeah.
It's just so counterintuitive to how we're often taught to handle conflict.
It is a powerful practice, that's for sure. And, it's important to remember that it's not about being passive or letting people take advantage of you.
Right.
It's more about cultivating that deep inner strength that allows you to respond to those difficult situations
Okay.
with wisdom and grace.
So less about reacting defensively and more about choosing a response. That aligns with your spiritual goals.
Exactly. It's about rising above the situation
Oh.
rather than getting pulled into that cycle of negativity.
Right.
But as you said, it's definitely not easy.
Yeah, and the article uses a pretty vivid analogy to illustrate that struggle. I found it surprisingly relatable.
Ah, yes, the comparison to the millstone. It's a striking image,
It is.
isn't it?
Definitely. The article explains that just as a millstone continues to rotate even after the donkey that was powering it is unharnessed,
Right.
our desires can kind of keep tormenting us, even when we're actively trying to control them.
Yeah, it's such a powerful way to visualize, like, the persistence of desire, even when you're trying to move past it.
Right.
But just like that millstone eventually slows down
Yeah.
and comes to a halt.
Okay.
The article suggests that with consistent effort, we can also gradually subdue our desires.
Okay.
It's not about eliminating them completely,
Right.
but rather about learning to manage them
Okay.
so they don't control us.
So it sounds like persistence and patience are key. But speaking of persistence, we talked about Al-Ghazali's method for gradually reducing food intake.
Right.
It made me wonder, is Riyadhah really just about restricting ourselves?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Like eating less or sleeping less?
It's a common misconception about Riyadhah.
Okay.
Moderation in those areas is just one piece of the puzzle. Remember, it's a holistic practice that involves purifying the heart, refining your character, seeking closeness to Allah through various acts of worship.
Okay.
It's about working on yourself from the inside out.
So a multifaceted approach.
Yes.
Involving both inward and outward practices.
Precisely, and it's not one size fits all.
Okay.
The specific practices will vary depending on an individual's spiritual needs and goals,
Right.
but the underlying principle is always the same: purifying the soul and strengthening that connection with the divine.
That makes sense. It seems like Riyadhah could be viewed as a journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth.
Yeah.
A process of becoming like the best version of yourself.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. It's about refining your inner self, shedding those negative qualities and cultivating virtues that benefit both you and those around you.
That's a powerful thought, but I have to admit, I'm struggling a bit to reconcile this idea of Riyadhah with the realities of modern life.
Okay.
We live in a world that often feels at odds with these principles. It's like we're constantly bombarded with these messages telling us to want more, buy more, do more.
Right.
It's almost like our entire economic system is built on the idea of wanting more, more.
It can be incredibly difficult to resist those pressures, especially when they're coming at us from all directions.
It really can.
But I think that's precisely why Riyadhah is so relevant
Okay.
and important today.
Okay.
It offers a different way of being in the world, a counter-narrative to that constant push for more.
So almost like an antidote to the excesses of modern life.
Yeah.
A way to find contentment and balance in a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming.
You could say that.
Yeah.
Riyadhah teaches us to appreciate the simple things, to find satisfaction in what we have, to focus on what truly matters. It's about shifting our priorities from the material to the spiritual, from external validation to inner peace.
That's a pretty radical idea in our current culture. But I have to admit, it's also incredibly appealing.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of that verse from the Quran that the article mentions. And eat and drink, but be not excessive. Indeed, he likes not those who commit excesses.
Yeah, it's such a simple message,
Right.
but it speaks volumes about finding that balance in life.
It does.
It reminds us that enjoying life's pleasures isn't inherently bad,
Right.
but it's about finding that middle ground,
Okay.
that sweet spot between the extremes.
Yeah.
And that's where the discipline of Riyadhah comes in,
Okay.
helping us cultivate that moderation.
So it's not about denying ourselves pleasure or living a life of austerity,
Right.
but rather about making conscious choices
Yes.
and finding that balance between indulgence and deprivation.
Exactly, and that can apply to everything,
Okay.
from the food we eat and the things we buy to the way we spend our time and energy.
Right.
It's about being mindful,
Yeah.
intentional in our choices,
Mm.
always striving to align them with our values.
This has been such a rich and insightful exploration of Riyadhah.
Yeah.
I feel like we've just scratched the surface, but I'm already seeing how these principles can be applied to my own life.
Me too. And I think the article does a great job of highlighting both the challenges and the rewards of this path.
Right.
It's a practice that requires commitment and effort, but the potential benefits are immense.
Yeah, like what are some of those benefits?
Greater peace, contentment,
Okay.
stronger relationships, a deeper connection with the divine.
Okay.
These are just some of the fruits that Riyadhah can bear.
It's truly inspiring, and I think it's a powerful reminder that we have the ability to shape our own lives,
Mm,
to cultivate those inner qualities that can lead to greater happiness and fulfillment, both for ourselves and for those around us.
beautifully said. It's a journey of self-transformation and spiritual growth that can enrich our lives in very profound ways.
Yeah, I agree. As we've been exploring this idea of Riyadhah, I'm starting to see it as more than just a set of rules or practices. It feels like a whole philosophy of living,
I'd agree.
way to approach life with intention and purpose.
You're right.
And I think those are concepts that resonate with people from all walks of life,
Definitely.
regardless of their specific beliefs.
Yeah.
But let's be honest.
Yeah.
The world we live in often feels at odds with these principles of Riyadhah.
That's true.
Like we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us to buy more, consume more, achieve more.
Yeah.
It's almost like our entire economic system is built on the idea of wanting more, more, more.
It can be really difficult to resist those pressures, especially when they're coming at us from all directions.
It really can't.
But I think that's precisely why Riyadhah is so relevant today.
Okay.
It offers a different way of being in the world,
Right.
a counter-narrative to that constant push for more.
So it's almost like an antidote to the excesses of modern life, like a way to find contentment and balance in a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming.
You could say that. Riyadhah teaches us to appreciate the simple things, to find satisfaction in what we have,
Okay.
and to really focus on what truly matters.
Right.
It's about shifting our priorities from the material to the spiritual, from that external validation
Okay.
to inner peace.
That's a pretty radical idea in our current culture.
It is.
But I have to say, it's also incredibly appealing.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of that verse from the Quran that the article mentions.
Okay.
And eat and drink, but be not excessive. Indeed, he likes not those who commit excess.
It's a simple message,
Right.
but it speaks volumes about finding that balance in life.
It really does.
It reminds us that enjoying life's pleasures isn't inherently bad, but it's about finding that middle ground,
Right.
that sweet spot between the extremes.
Right.
And that's where the discipline of Riyadhah comes in,
Okay.
helping us cultivate that moderation in all aspects of our lives.
Yeah. So it's not about denying ourselves pleasure or living a life of austerity,
No.
but rather about making conscious choices and finding that balance between indulgence and deprivation.
Exactly. And that can apply to everything from the food we eat,
Okay.
to the things that we buy,
Right.
to the way we spend our time and energy.
I see.
It's about being mindful and intentional in our choices, always striving to align them with our values.
This has been such a rich and insightful conversation about Riyadhah.
It has been.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, we have.
But I'm already seeing how these principles could be applied to my own life.
Me too. And I think the article does a great job of highlighting both the challenges and the rewards of this path.
It does.
It's a practice that requires commitment and effort, but the potential benefits are huge.
They are. Like, what are some of those benefits?
Greater peace, contentment,
Okay.
stronger relationships, a deeper connection with the divine. These are just some of the fruits that Riyadhah can bear.
It's really inspiring, and I think it's a powerful reminder that we have the ability to shape our own lives,
Yeah.
to cultivate those inner qualities that can lead to greater happiness and fulfillment, both for ourselves and for those around us.
Beautifully said. It's a journey of self-transformation and spiritual growth that can enrich our lives in such profound ways.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
I hope this has sparked a curiosity in you to learn more about this practice.
I hope so too. Maybe this conversation has even prompted some new questions for you.
Yeah.
What if instead of asking ourselves, what else can I get?
Hmm.
We started asking, what else can I let go of?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with.
Yes.
Definitely some food for thought.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep seeking knowledge.